What if you could travel to parallel worlds? The same year, the same Earth, only different dimensions. A world where the Russians rule America. Or where your dreams of being a superstar came true. Or where San Francisco was a maximum security prison. My friends and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Circling the Vortex. This is episode 22 for season 2, episode 12, Invasion. And I'm your host Ben, but joining me today is Nathan, who I'd say in honour of Invasion this week comes from a world in which the dominant species that developed sliding tech are actually derived from the most vicious Arctic animal, the penguin. And those people have just taken over Nathan's world. He's subject to the penguin overlords.
Oh, it's horrific. I wake up every day at 3 a.m. I fish for 23 hours to provide food for my penguin overlords before going to bed at 2 a.m. for my 1 hour sleep, ready to start again. And you know, if I don't reach my fish quotas, I get viciously pecked.
I mean, that sounds pretty scary.
It's not too bad with some of the little ones, but you know, when there's an emperor penguin who's on overlord duty, and he's you know, you could lose an eye to one of them beaks.
I just envisioning like penguins with slider tech, like you know, we saw some great sweater action in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they've got like funky belts or something that makes them look scary.
They've got little. I don't know where the penguin waist is. Would it be quite high up, or just above where their tiny little feet are?
It's a question.
I don't know.
It's a question we need answers to. It's a question
I don't
we need
know.
answers to. Okay, what world am I from this week?
And I'm joined by Ben, where England just never left the feudal system.
Okay, so what does that mean? What's the knock-on effect of that?
So you know, you'd still got modern technology, but you'd farm for most of it. You'd occasionally have to bear arms for your lord, who provides a number of knights for Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay, I feel like there's an episode. I feel like they did that, if they haven't done it already. I really do. I feel like they've done that. Knights and stuff, yeah.
I thought I'd go for a nice genteel kind of...
That's a nice one. That's a nice
one.
As a counterpoint to the episode we just sat through. Now, I should talk about this a little bit. I had a strong, not so much a specific memory of this episode, but a strong like remembrance that when I saw this episode, it quite shocked me. It changes the structure of the show. It adds something very different to Sliders,
yes,
which is a sort of this concept of marauding, divergent species that had dominated over Homo sapiens, the Cro-Magnon man, as it were. And I remember this stuck with me. This concept stuck with me ever since I saw the show as a kid.
Were you scared of the Cro-Mags? It's fine if you were.
They're quite threatening. The way that they do them in this show. Then they obviously through limitations of budget, shall we say, they don't show them well lit. They avoid, you know, focusing on the makeup and things like that, which is smart because it makes them quite threatening. And I think what this episode does is really cool in the way it does change up the formula and it does change things considerably. But I did think it was very telling that throughout you were like, is this a two-parter? Because we've got like 10 minutes left here, and how on earth are they going to wrap up this concept?
Yeah, it felt like there was, not in a bad way, but just a lot to sort of carry forward or resolve, I guess.
There's a lot going on, because it is such a shift in formula.
Which, Yeah, because I guess it potentially starts. I'm assuming, a plot. Well, I know they all have a plot, but something actually affecting future episodes.
A serialized narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, rather than just the sort of very episodic nature of their slides, which worries me because of how much the episodes get switched around for TV order.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much you want me to say, but yeah, this is not the last you see of the Cro-Mags. There is no doubt. I think I can confirm that for you.
And I'd kind of hope so, given the ending. If it was just never mentioned again, I'd be disappointed. It's not like, they've had someone join them on a slide and never mentioned them again.
No, that's never happened. Never.
No. They would never happened. Like that.
No. So let's talk through the episode. Let's go through the episode. So we have the cold open. The gang slides onto a rather quiet planet. They're like, what's going on here? It's a bit quiet. Remy's wearing some natty elbow and knee protective pads, which they mock. And then quickly, they realize the timer is messed up, and they somehow the timer now has the ability to somehow detect scanning sort of stuff to find out. So somehow the timer has now developed the ability to home in on disturbances and things that are affecting the timing signal.
Some kind of energy interference. And it's like, oh, it's coming from here. And starts wandering towards it.
And
so it can do that now.
So I was a bit confused by this, right? So it's homing in on this interference, which is in a sort of dilapidated amusement park, which
one of my favourite tropes.
What's that?
Just abandoned amusement parks. I love them.
It's always creepy, isn't it? It's like something inherently off about that.
Yeah.
But what was causing the interference? Because we are then there for when... Oh, is it just the ship? Because the ship's just flying around the area.
Because I don't see the ship until it happens. But then, surely if they need to slide away, shouldn't they be going away from the interference?
Well, the logic being they needed to find the interference and stop it, so that we could slide, because the timer was all gobbledygook, wasn't it? According to Quinn. And so we see the ship, and the ship sort of spots them. It's weird. It's like aliens. This is sliders. What, aliens?
So
when you saw this,
bird of prey look to it. I just wanna.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, it looked more like a manta ray, but anyway. When you saw this, what did you think was going on?
I'll be honest, I didn't think anything.
What do you mean?
No, as in, obviously we know what the title is. It's called Invasion, so plant something in the mind. And then I saw, obviously, this weirdly slow CGI spaceship just start flying along. And I don't know, for some reason I didn't question it. I just assumed, really just took it on without, okay, yeah, it's a spaceship invasion. Not really thinking about it, just...
So you thought aliens?
Yeah. But I wasn't like, oh, is it aliens? I was just like, okay, yeah, it's alien invasion, okay, fine. We'll carry on.
So, first question, how did you rate the CGI compared to, say, in Dino Veritas?
Okay. The CGI itself was very bad, but they didn't show a lot of it, and it was mostly distant shots, so they kind of got away with it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
by keeping it to a pure minimum, you couldn't really pick out the detail of the ship, but all it did was fly a bit, crash. And you're like, okay, yeah, it wasn't the focus of it.
Yeah, I think the director of this episode and the team and stuff were smart in their choices of understanding the limitations that they were operating under. So they didn't overstretch, and therefore they were able to achieve, I think, a pretty cohesive episode, obviously on a shoestring budget, but they really did a good job with what they had, and I do commend them for that. I definitely well done, hats off to them. They still pulled this off. So yeah, the next question I was going to ask you was, I thought, it's not so much a question, more of an observation. I thought it was quite clever that they lent into the idea that this would be alien invasion, and it's actually therefore makes the reveal of what the Cro-Mags are, an opposing sliding force, I think quite impressive. They actually, because they know in the 90s, around the time, I don't know if this was before or after Independence Day, would have to check to say that the time and stuff, but UFOs, X-Files, aliens and stuff were pop culture gold. So to actually not go down that route and to do something within the slider canon with it, I think is pretty cool. I mean, it really surprised me at the time.
I mean, you could argue they are aliens because they come from a different planet.
Yeah, but not in the conventional sense. You know what I mean? It's not outer space aliens, is it?
No, but
by that logic, you could say, Quinn and the team, the gang, they're aliens on every planet they show up to.
Yeah, Arturo the alien.
That way.
Yeah,
we don't think of them that way, do we? So Quinn kind of takes
with there was that billboard with Cro-Mags something on it, written in big writing.
Climax are here, end is nigh. That kind of thing.
Which if you know your human evolutionary chain is a little bit of a giveaway.
Yeah, you did start thinking, didn't you, along those lines as soon as you saw the word
I thought there was going to be
Cro-Mags.
something involved with it, but I was still happy to accept aliens.
I mean, I don't think in the 90s it was as widely a known concept. Now, when I was watching this show 12 years old, I'd certainly never, or 13 years old or whatever it was at the time, I'd certainly never come across Cro-Magnon Man. That whole scientific evolutionary theory concept, any of that. I'd never heard of that. So this was completely new to me. And to actually look into it, this is based on fact. And I think that only makes it stronger as a concept. And I think that really is the strength of this whole idea, isn't it? And it's really cool. It's really different.
I mean, there's some slight inconsistencies, kind of. But that's the nitpicking into the sciences, but
yeah, but I mean, I feel there's enough here, based in reality, to make it interesting and engaging and smart. Cool writing. So we often mock the writer's room on sliders for the easy concepts or the simplest get outs, but I actually think this was very cool. And I think Tracy, Torme and those guys pitched a cool idea here and did it surprisingly well on the money they had. So, right, let's get back into the rundown. So, the ship crashes because of Quinn's use of the timer on it, because he kind of guessed that he would interfere with it.
He just points it at it. I don't know if he presses something, but just a beam seems to fly from the slide remote and just shoot it down. Yeah, a very slow, quite unspectacular crash.
Oh my word, this crash
it's
is
a budget
terrible.
Crash.
Oh, I mean, the gout of fire that comes up looks like a Roman candle has been set off. It's not great. I'm sure it's the best they could do, but they start going to look, and then they're stopped by a gentleman in. I don't know. It looks like he's going to the opera. Let's say
the long coat.
Let's say evening attire.
Evening wear. Yeah,
evening attire. Yes, he looked sharp. He looked
very well dressed.
He did
for an invaded world.
Well, we find out why. Okay.
We'll go into that bit in a bit.
Yeah. He comes over and gives them expositional dump number 1.
Oh no! You just killed a Cro-Mag. They will not be happy. Something. Eat your eyes. He's just basically he's an expedition dump.
Yeah, he's there to catch us up on some concepts, because there's a lot of concept in this episode. There is a lot,
Gives a bit of exposition and then goes, I hope their revenge on you will be the least painless. Something along those lines. It's like, my twin daughters and a girl in, well, just denim bits, and another lady in like a Regency outfit.
Clearly not twins, by the way.
No.
Very much not twins.
Could be. Probably not. And then they just wander off. Don't know where
and
they
then
go.
the best bit for me is this bit here where Wade now goes, "Did you see that bracelet he was wearing?" And it's like, nope, nobody saw that.
No.
I'm not even sure he was wearing one.
I did not see his medical bracelet, which she just so happens to remember. It said, was it Gatehaven on it?
Yeah.
Where her dad worked. Funnily enough. I think she said it was a mental institution.
Yeah, and I was like, was this inserted after to try and make this scene make sense? Because once again, we are dealing with that feeling that there was more either written or filmed that did not make it into this episode.
And then this is the bit I didn't get. Well, I did get it. And then Remy's like, what's it? Says
fruitcakes.
What a fruitcake. And then Arturo says, that's not very PC of you. Which is true, but this is also coming from the man who just slanders women at any
and then proceeds
opportunity.
in the next planet we get to just rib on the French. Like, continuously. As if that was PC? It just felt like a weird line for Arturo at that moment to pull Remy up on that.
Because they're calling out, it's not PC to call them that, which is fair. But they're also doing that trope of people from a mental institution, they must wear outrageous outfits because that's just the thing. I don't know.
He was a bit kooky, I guess the guy was a bit kooky, but I don't think anyone until Wade said what she said was thinking mental institution. I know I wasn't. I just thought they were a bit eccentric. The guy was a bit weird, which makes me think that was a change that happened after the fact. That
do you think maybe
there might have been more to it than that? And they then kind of thought, well, we have to cut this entire subplot for time or money,
so let's throw in Arturo saying
insert this.
That's not PC.
Well, if you notice the shots on Arturo and I think Wade as well were close-ups on their faces in that scene, so that it wasn't a shot that was taken at the time as the wide shots. So therefore, it makes me think they were inserts, that they were shot after the fact and then edited into the episode to actually make it move along.
If they were trying to discuss it, or not discuss it, cut bits, it just feels weird that they spent so much time explaining, okay, they must be from a mental institution. They must have all let them free when the invasion happened. And they sort of added quite a bit more, it seems, to kind of explain it.
You don't know. For all you know, this subplot was 10 minutes of all kinds of malarkey.
Possibly. I mean, I've just been happy with just, the guy's living his best life, surviving an invasion in his opera evening wear.
He's doing a good job.
It just felt a bit of a 90s outdated trope with, zany outfit.
So we go into the ship next, don't we?
Yeah.
So
the guy just disappears. I don't follow him.
He walks off.
They go into. Well, they find the crash. It's like, it's organic metal, because
why not? Science fiction-y.
I mean, Arturo, we know he's a cosmologist. He's also apparently an expert in parallel dimension metals. Now,
is that not a metallurgist? Isn't that the term?
Metallurgist? I don't.
Metallurgist?
Is it a different one?
Metallurgy?
Cosmo-metallurgist? I don't know. He knows.
This looks weird. Looks a bit like skin. Oh, organic metal. Sweet.
He just seems to know. Just immediately accepts it as fact, even though he's been.
So, organic tech, big 90s era sci-fi trope.
That's the
huge thing at that time.
It gets that one line.
Huge thing.
Line. Okay, no, another. Oh, they must have grown it, and then it's never mentioned again.
It doesn't come up again at all. It's completely irrelevant to anything. Yeah, and again another thing that feels like had more consequence than we got to see.
To me, it just felt like trying to reinforce that it's definitely
aliens.
not from Earth.
Perhaps.
It's growy metal. Ooh,
growy metal. So they go into the ship, and then we get the best bit. I think my favourite bit of the entire episode actually is Wade and Remy kind of keeping lookout while Arturo and Quinn go into the ship for seemingly hours. They talk about why is it scientists always have the most fun? They always get to do the cool stuff. It's not fair, is it? I'm going to admit that is not something I would often think about when thinking about scientists. That they get to do all the cool stuff.
It almost felt to me like that kind of weird henchman kind of thing.
It was a bit of Wade and Remy kind of almost thinking.
Why are the smart people doing all the stuff? Well,
I actually thought it was a bit meta. I thought it was an acknowledgement from Wade and Remy that they are often sidelined. Whenever, because Sliders is obviously a high concept show, so whenever they come across these high concepts, who can handle them? It's Quinn and Arturo. Where poor Wade, shop assistant, and Remy, failing music artist, don't have a huge amount of relevance to these storylines. And they kind of acknowledge that.
I will not have you besmirch his music career. He's the crying man.
We got a crying man reference, didn't we? Because he started going off on one about how he'd been pulled into the portal.
Pulled into the world. I'm a famous musician.
Yeah, a beloved. Wasn't it like a beloved celebrity?
Celebrity, that was it.
That was it. Beloved celebrity, not obscure act from 30 years previous. No, but no. And then let's not forget Wade's ignominious origins as a shop assistant in a computer shop, which was her whole saving grace at times in certain episodes. Remember when she hacked the software thing and did that thing with the computer and
when leaked the what was it, like the Declaration of Independence?
That was
thing
it
to the entire world,
or
just to the entirety of America, because that's all they ever affect.
You've got to have AOL, mate, and that is America Online. It doesn't mean the world online, just to be clear, okay? But we digress. We've gone back a few episodes there. So they're poking around.
They're in the
ship,
spaceship.
aren't they? They're in the spaceship.
Looks very much inorganic. I'll be the first.
Mate, I got the strongest Doctor Who vibes at this point.
They did have that kind of central console, but instead of one large
whooshy
time rotor. That's
right. Can you keep your Whovianness on check for the other podcast, please?
Yeah, they had let's call them slide rods.
I love it. That is now canon.
It was just something moving up and down in the centre of the console, but I'm assuming they were like, we can't make this too Who. We'll have rods. Rods are cooler.
I love that. Slide rods from now on.
There's a dead Cro-Mag, and Arturo robs him.
Yeah, he steals his watch. He steals his watch, which sets off an alarm.
To be fair, I like the karma of it, as we'll go into the next bit.
There is a callback to this coming up, yeah. Sets off an alarm. They go running. Sounds like cats fighting. It's not a pleasant alarm. And they're running, and then they get chased by our first glimpse of living Cro-Mag action, and which we can see from the Cro-Mags are pretty horrible looking.
I didn't mind the mask. I didn't mind it.
It's pretty good.
I thought it was alright.
Do you know who it reminds me of? Do you know what it reminds me of? The look of them. Do you know what it reminds me of?
Should we say it? Is it Buffy vampires?
Yeah,
100%. With the noses.
Yeah. They're Buffy vampires, aren't they? Let's be honest. And it's the pulled back mouths, so you can see all the teeth as well.
And the sort of the wrinkled brow and nose, that kind of.
And to be fair, it's the same constraint Buffy vampires would have had, right? Which is if you need to do this en masse, like for a lot of, you've not just got one hero monster, you need multiples. It needs to be something you can pull off quickly, easily, cheaply, in a practical way. And I think that's why we get like Star Trek aliens. They all look a bit like people, don't they?
Yeah.
Because it's easier. So
I thought they looked pretty good.
Decent.
It was just the striped sweater that.
I mean, it's like
it didn't kill the immersion, but you're like, oh, it's just a sweater.
I love the idea that we even got a close up on their footwear later on as well, which just looked like off-brand Dr. Martens.
Yeah.
And it's like, I thought the sweaters, in an attempt to have some kind of unified look, almost a uniform, but not quite because they weren't identical.
No.
But like a unified look to them. If you're doing it on a very cheap budget, it could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
I thought they, it works, doesn't it? I mean, it is a strange thing, a sweater. I
know obviously they're from Earth, so they would have access to their own sweaters. But for a possible invading force, I was just expecting more than sweaters. But
a more I would have thought like a more military get up.
To be fair, the alternative is just spray painted paintball armor. So actually, on that, I'm happy they went for sweaters. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine that quite a bit of thought and discussion would have gone into the design. I like, what we've got £15 per person for this. What can we do? Well, we could pop down the Gap and buy some sweaters. Okay, let's do it.
Done.
I mean, yeah.
Overall, they don't look too
worse.
bad. They don't look too bad. They're pretty good for what they are. So they're chasing them.
Yeah.
They slide. Well, they open their slide tunnel. Arturo Remy just dive through. But wait, what's that in the sky? A red slidey tunnel. And a manta ship comes out. Because it does look like a manta, not a Klingon bird of prey. Definitely not. But yeah,
I think they even call them a manta. I think Evening Wear guy actually calls them manta ships.
Like, oh, you took a manta ship. So yeah. So that was quite a
big
I was
reveal.
A bit surprised actually.
Big
I was
reveal.
like, oh, they're sliding, and I think even Quinn says they're sliders or something to that extent.
It's a big reveal. It's huge. It changes everything, doesn't it?
And then we go to my favourite world.
Yep.
France, America. That's it.
What did they call it? It was the new something of France.
Oh, the new
colony.
West. Versailles West of New France.
New France. Okay.
And obviously they've spent all their budget on the sweaters. So how do we know it's France? He lands on a guy carrying baguettes.
Love
and
it.
He cuts to a woman with an accordion.
Love it.
And a dog in a dress next to her.
Love it so much. The only thing that could have made it more French is if there was someone smoking a really stinky looking cigarette, but probably couldn't get away with that.
We do get a French waiter in the next scene though, so
yes, famous tropes of France, all filled in. What are they known for? Rude
Baguettes.
waiters,
accordions, waiters.
Yeah, this is very, very. They're hitting every trope here. It's great.
Yeah. So I'll be honest. At that point, I kind of thought they'd escaped, but that you're aware. Okay, something's gonna come. Something's gonna happen. There's gonna be consequences, obviously.
Yeah, because by the way, all this description, 28 minutes into this podcast, and the when they slid to New France, then we got the credits.
Yeah.
So just like a lot has happened. A lot is going on in this episode. A lot.
You could almost think it was just a very impressive pre-world, but no. So they're in France. They have some food. The waiter's being rude, slightly rude, to Arturo, saying, I bet you're glad you've left your little island. Something on those lines.
That is an incredibly bad accent.
The guy in the episode had one too. So.
He did, to be fair. You were accurate in that regard. But look, to be honest, come on, it's New France. They clearly succeeded in ways Petit UK did not.
Arturo's sort of, as a Quinn says, you're taking on the cheek. Then they find out that Remy doesn't have any money, although I did like the fact they actually reference how they get the money. Apparently it's just Remy going to casinos and winning.
He's good at that. We've established that he's rather good at gambling.
Yeah, so we find out he's not got any money. Arturo has to give up his watch, which I think is only fair because he did rob a dead man's watch. See, little kind of callback to it. And
What did he say about his watch? It was worth more than like the gross national product of
Paraguay.
God,
And then he just launches into this tirade of anti-Frenchness, which is not very PC.
Not very PC. Somebody should have called him on that.
And then we get another not very PC bit of Remy. I like the French women. You can't tell what they're thinking. And
then, again, I feel the same about Asian women
and Latina women.
Yeah, and then Wade's like, it's probably best you don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah,
Remy. Yeah, it's quite a good burn from Wade there. I have to say, it was a good zinger, good counter to his just misogyny. Really, just misogyny. I love it. You got casual misogyny from Remy and casual racism from Arturo. We're really hitting all the greats in this one. It is.
Unfortunately.
So
I guess now we hit the meat and veg.
Yeah, we're half an hour into this episode. Yes, we get into the core of the concept, which is the watch is lit up. Oh, why is it lit up? Arturo says, look up in the sky, red slide portal, Manta ship appears, hits them all with some kind of stun beam. Cro-Mags come down, take back their watch,
Martins walk past,
see some DMs, take the watch back and take the sliding remote. Cut to our illustrious sliders being held prisoner in the Manta ship, held against the wall. I love this, by the way. But the force of gravity. And this is this
mastered
not
gravity?
Is this not the best way you've ever seen, right? Of not having to use either practical or special effects to show that someone's restrained in a science fiction
just
show.
Standing against the wall.
They literally just stood against the set and they're saying, well, they're being held that way because of gravity. I think that is freaking genius.
And then we get
that screams to me, we need to do this scene. How can we restrain them? Ooh, we've not got anything ready. Say it's gravity. Say it's gravity. I love it.
Which is told us by our second exposition dump.
Oh,
Mary. Of course, they have mastered gravity like you have mastered the horse.
Sure.
Quite poetic, I thought. I quite like that line.
And then she basically extols the virtues of the Cro-Mags to our guys, telling them that everything they thought about them was wrong. They're not invading. They're liberating. They're helping. They were invited to that world.
They're recognised as the superior species.
They are more intelligent.
They've given us technology.
They are just like, I don't know, imperialist England. We do nothing. They do nothing wrong. We're just trying to help out, and they just get a bad rep, man. Get a bad rep.
There's one of them just standing like not a beaded curtain, but sort of standing behind soming.
Dangly organo ship bits.
Keeps cutting to him. It's like, why isn't he talking? He refuses to learn the Homo sapiens language. So I am your telepathic interpreter, yeah. Which I guess is a very good way of them not having to make up an alien language.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strange scene with the guy stood in the background, once again in shadow, so you don't have to look at the deficiency in the makeup, which I think is pretty clever. Again, just conveys creepy, extremely creepy dude throughout.
She's saying you're the prisoners of the guests of the Cro-Mag dynasty.
Yes, dynasty. So we get the distinct impression these boys are fairly expansive. They have been to many worlds.
And then we get what I thought was my favourite bit, actually.
Go on.
The mind games.
So yeah, the sort of the, what do you call this, second act, I guess, third act maybe, where it's all about the Cro-Mags trying to get from our guys the location of our Earth, because it turns out Quinn and gang are the only ever Homo sapiens they have found that have sliding tech and therefore are a threat. Now, bear in mind, we got this information from Mary, who turns out to not be the best source of exposition.
Mary.
But I feel like this is believable, especially based on how the episode ends and stuff, and the fact that they've never bumped into any other sliders. So fair enough. Though we have met, I believe Quinn's met other Quinns who've had sliding tech. Do you remember the mage guy?
Yes, slid.
He had sliding tech, didn't he? Yeah.
And there was also, I got a feeling there was another one.
Could have been.
I'm pretty sure there was a world where there wasn't a Quinn because he'd slid or something like that.
Yes, wasn't it the brain game one?
Yeah.
Where they had to play in because of their doubles had slid out and left. Or something like that.
So there are others. I'm assuming just the Cro-Mag dynasty hasn't come across them. Yeah, which is fair.
There's a lot of worlds. There's infinite parallel worlds.
Although I guess at this point we learn that they know how to map it and trace it. Because they've got like coordinates, which slide tunnel.
So the mind games consists of Remy being not shown his father. His actual real Remy father was there to try and convince him of how decent the Cro-Mags were, but obviously forced into doing this. We see Arturo trying to be tricked into giving up information by a fake Remy.
It was a hologram.
No, he confirms, doesn't he? Remy says, no, he didn't go anywhere. He wouldn't disappear. He wouldn't leave me alone. He was a real one from another world. Because that's why he got the information about his sister wrong. Because where that guy was from, he actually had a sister.
I thought it was like they trying to mind game him and didn't get the information properly.
It was a real Papa Remy.
I mean, you can tell it was, not exactly a loving reunion.
Doesn't he call him by his name instead of Dad? He says something like Frank or something.
Well, they start talking. And he's like, "So, what coordinates did you use, son? Have you been reunited with your child? Who made it? Was it the CIA that made it? It couldn't have been that kid." What
I love
the
it.
coordinates?
Pretty transparent, yeah.
What slide tunnel did you use? We just need to check your coordinates so we can get you back home properly to your kid's sister. What slide tunnel did you use? It was pretty transparent.
Really good integration.
Seconds.
So that was good. That was one strategy they employed. Not the best. The next strategy was tricking Arturo into thinking he was talking to Rembrandt when actually it was a telepathic projection.
See, I thought that one was better.
That was a better strategy.
Because he starts shouting at the other prisoner, who he doesn't think is real. Sees, like, someone...
keeping him off balance. Clever.
I don't know if you saw, but there was like someone ring walking. Like the girl from the Ring.
Where?
Because someone I saw, like, in the floor in front of him, there was someone on all fours walking.
What? In what scene?
With Arturo and Remy. Like, he's looking and there's someone on all fours, like, doing that weird long gait ring girl walk.
I have no... Were the Cro-Mags affecting your brain, Nathan?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, what's happening here, buddy?
What coordinates am I on?
I feel like I'd have remembered that if I'd seen that.
No, that definitely happened.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
We can review the footage later.
We'll review the footage. Then he turns back. Remy's gone, or mind game Remy's gone, and then actual Rembrandt Brown comes in.
Yeah, and then the most conventional form, I would say, of interrogation comes from Wade, who's basically sat in a very tall chair with lights being shone on her and being asked the same questions over and over and over and over and over. Just to try and push it.
She didn't get mind games. She just got the spinny like rack thing.
It was such a weird scene because it was like, clearly this is just an empty room with nothing in it, but okay. And then Quinn they try a very different strategy, don't they? With Mary, she basically, like, after that one time I met you, I loved you. I want to have your babies. And she's just laying it on thick. Like, laying it on thick about, you know, telling him all about her horrible upbringing, about how they, you know, she was treated as a monster, you know, trying to convince him that, you know, they're going to fight back. And, you know, she gives him a key to escape the thing and all of this stuff.
The bit of plastic.
Bit of plastic with some laser etching on it. And, you know, it's interesting because what's brilliant about this is that in 2 seasons of this show, we have seen women fall in love with Quinn in seconds, right? So we don't really question how her attitude is like,
no,
bit quick, love.
Although this is the first time where it actually made sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we'll see. It wasn't just, oh, look, it's Joey O'Connell. Ooh, boy.
Ooh, his hair is so floppy. Ooh, love his floppy hair. And so she's laying it on really thick, and he's lapping it up because Quinn is just the most desperate for a damsel. My word, Quinn's reaction to every woman in trouble ever is so predictable, and they read him perfectly in that regard.
He's an old-fashioned, you know, an old-fashioned hero.
I suppose that's one way of putting it. And then we progress through. He comes back to the team, and it's like, right, breakout time, and this is going to go really well. We have no plan, but we've already ascertained earlier in a conversation dialogue that doesn't matter because we're going to try and escape. If we don't, we'll die trying, but we've got to try. It's like, fair enough. But in that, I thought it was interesting in that scene with Mary in the Arboretum. You turn to me and go, are you sure this isn't a 2-part episode? Because there's less than 10 minutes of the episode left at this point. And you're like, yeah, they're going to have to move it to get to some kind of resolution here, aren't they? Like, real quick. Real quick.
You know, it felt like there was a lot more to be dealt with.
And I think there probably was. Like, I mean, I think there was a lot more concept here, a lot more. It could have been that it was pitched as a 2-parter, or maybe even shot as a 2-parter, and then cut down and edited down. I think that is possible. Don't you think?
It would explain a lot of what we've seen.
Especially as now, so goes to escape, and you know, they're running around. There's like 2 Cro-Mags in this prison chasing them after they get ratted on by the eyeless man from the other cell. Turns out Cro-Mags really do eat people's eyes, which is genius. Because
Wade goes, no, we'll let him free. And he's like, I can't go free. And neither can you.
Guards.
And
it's a funny
so
thing.
they start running.
And they're literally running up and down probably the same corridor, which gets dressed a little bit differently each time with different weird Cro-Mag trophies in cabinets, it would seem, and in the walls. And then, at one point, Quinn, like, sees something through a door, and it's like jumper cables, and he like moves things, and there's an explosion.
Slider
cables. Slider
cables.
Sorry, slider cables. Yeah, not jumping leads. Slider cables, and he's broken that. And then they get to another room. Hold on, Cro-Mags stop them, and then you think they're caught, but then Mary shoots them. Is it Mary? I've already forgot. It's Mary, isn't it? I thought Maggie for a second.
She gets a bit of laser in her,
and then she gets a tiny bit lasered, but it's a bad laser, poison laser, maybe, I don't know. And then they get sent back. She gives them back the timer, and she tells her, but we need to jump from the planet we were on, otherwise the timer won't work. I said, that's right. I'll set the coordinates back to French land. You'll be fine.
The world you were last on. Go, Quinn. When I saw you resisting, it made me so happy. Really breathless. Although, to be fair, she had just been lasered, so...
Poison lasered. Yeah, that's better.
Poison lasered.
You have to go. You have to go and fight back and save yourself and save your friends. He's like, okay.
And then she's like, no, you come. No, I'm dying. We both know it. Go, Jerry O'Connell.
and he does. And he does.
Yeah, no, not before he leaves with Mary. You're always beautiful, and you always will be. and then leaves her there.
But you're just a corpse now, so I don't care. So they go back to French land, don't they?
Slides off.
Yeah.
And like, oh, we're so happy to be back. And it's almost like they landed on the same baguette guy.
He had croissants this time, so it's okay.
But yeah, you know, they've escaped. Wink, wink.
So we cut. There's no more, is there? They think they're home scot free.
They think they're home. Oh.
Yeah. So we get a little denouement here, and it cuts back to Cro-Magland.
He's speaking English.
And he's talking to the traitorous Mary, and he's telling them, we've put a tracker on them. We know where they're going to go.
Implanted them with a tracker.
Yeah.
So when they get back to their own world, we'll find them.
And we'll be there.
Invade them.
And mess them up and stuff. And Mary gets her reward of an hour of freedom in the garden before she goes back to her cage. And she just has a single tear. A single tear on her cheek. So it's
Thank you, Master.
You are a traitorous biatch, but you're also, you had to be because you had no choice. So, you know, they've probably got telepathic, you know, shit going on. You can't even resist.
You know, they've got their alien control, but I just love that it's like your reward is free time, like primary school level.
You get to go out and play with your friends for an hour.
You get a bit of free play in the garden. There's no other humans there, but you know, just run around the rhododendrons as much as you want, knock yourself out, then back in your cage.
Tie yourself up. You'll sleep well tonight.
Yeah,
you're good. Yeah,
but
so
it's definitely reinforced that bit. I think that whole last bit with the prisoner without the eye and the cage bit. It felt not shoehorned in, but like, oh, we gotta make sure they look really evil now. You know, they're definitely the baddies.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I think for that is throughout we're told to not believe what's going on, that there's stuff at play here, manipulations, half truths, false truths, hearsay, and I think that, you know, we have an unreliable, you know, information, so they do need to confirm some things that these guys are the bad guys.
Because I'm wondering
so
now
we have to know that they're the
why
bad
they
guys.
had the exposition guy. They made him be someone from a mental institution, so the main characters would doubt him for whatever reason. Because
they decided to portray the Cro-Mags for a large part of this episode as not necessarily bad, you know, different.
The first that we got was Quinn shooting down one of their ships.
Yeah, so the idea that they've been captured and caught because of the crimes they've committed, that's fair. He did murder a Cro-Mag, you know? Yeah. So, you know, we don't really know. So they had to, I think, propagate the idea that there was more to that. They're not just obvious villains, and I think they do a good job of that. But yeah, we now at the end know they eat eyeballs.
At the end, they eat eyes, they put people in cages.
They're not nice. They've implanted a tracker. They've violated one of our 4 core peeps. Somebody's got a bleeping watch inside their anus. And nobody needs that. And nobody's going to enjoy that.
Nobody wants it.
Nobody. So now, how do you feel about this? Big episode. We've been talking for a long time, actually. It's one of the longer episodes we've done.
Yeah.
Big episode. So much going on here. So much going on. Give me some thoughts.
I'm in two minds. Okay, firstly, I guess I'm in 3 minds. I really liked it. It was a fun episode. It felt the closest to pure sci-fi, as in that sort of traditional sci-fi of just alien invaders, you know, that kind of the classic stuff. But like you say, it felt like it should have been a 2-parter, or definitely even just like an hour special. It did feel at certain points that there was a lot more to be done. And it had a very odd mix of just tropes thrown in for that first bit of just, yeah, the French people, Remy, the 3 expositions at the start. Overall, I like it. It's one. I think for me, it was one of those episodes that definitely showed you it's from the 90s.
Yeah, I think that I really like this episode. I think I love how it changes the direction of the show somewhat, and it changes what the show could be. The promise of this episode is really exciting. Obviously, I can't talk about whether or not it lives up to that promise, but I can tell you that where it sets things up is really cool. I definitely agree. I don't know why. I really feel like studio involvement here behind this not being 2 parts. Like, I feel like this was definitely written as some kind of feature 2-part big, cliffhanger in the middle.
Yeah.
Big,
like the way the pilot
throughout.
Was a double length special kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had a couple of 2-part episodes, haven't we? There's been more than one, hasn't there? Or was it literally just the pilot?
I think it's just the pilot.
Okay.
Double length.
Yeah, I feel like we could have had more. I'm just gonna check something more. But you for the most part you enjoyed this one.
I think for me, once we got past New France, I mean, I just liked the pure sci-fi bit of it. I like it. I'm a sucker for a classic alien invasion kind of thing. I know they weren't aliens, but for all intents and purposes, they filled that role of the scary sweater men from space.
So, to give you some ideas of original ordering, this episode was meant to sit directly prior to post-traumatic slide syndrome.
Okay.
So does that kind of... You remember the tone of post-traumatic slide syndrome? Being like, it started off with them in a really kind of negative place.
That could make a bit more sense. Because I'll be honest, I was almost expecting this to have been the cliffhanger at the end.
No, this
like
was
the season
originally
finale.
episode 9. So pretty much, in the middle of things.
Is that before or after the Arturo fiasco, where we don't know?
Well, that's post-traumatic slide syndrome, isn't it?
Oh, so this is
So
right
it was the
before.
previous episode, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got... I guess this is our Arturo, as demonstrated by his affection to the French.
Yeah.
Oh, that's curious then.
I mean,
I definitely got finale vibes.
the next episode, which I look forward to, which is As Time Goes By. So I'm curious as to your prediction as to what this episode is going to be. But I will tell you that was originally the 6th episode.
Oh my! Oh.
So literally the middle of the season is the finale.
What one was the original finale?
I'm just checking. That would have been The Young and the Relentless.
Oh,
Last time's episode.
but that one did not feel like a finale.
No.
Curious. Maybe this one has more of a finale vibe to it then. We'll see. As time goes by, it feels pretty self-explanatory. I feel like it's going to be a world like 100 years in the future equivalents. Like, I don't know, maybe it'll be like Quinn's grandson, also played by Jerry O'Connell. But obviously it's meant to, be his relative. That kind of thing where it's the world equivalent just developed a little bit quicker or earlier. That's
Okay.
That's my bit. And maybe we'll get like a really touching episode of regular Quinn. Like, yo, I'm your equivalent of Grandpa Cuball.
Well, I can't talk about it too much because I actually remember the episode and I've just read a synopsis for it. However,
It's nothing like I said. No.
I look forward to reaching the end of our journey through season 2 in next time's episode. My final thoughts on Invasion. I'm not sure it quite stood up to what I remembered of it. I still think it's a great concept. I still love how it changes things and it alters the format of the show and the promise that brings. I think they did a remarkably good job with very little money. I would have just liked a bit more, a two-parter or something like we've talked about. But I really enjoy this episode. I think this is a great episode. And like you said, the strength of this episode, I think, is in that middle bit with all the interrogation stuff. That stuff is so well done.
I feel like they could have started that main bit of the episode a lot earlier without it hurting too much. If they...
Well, you say that, but look at how much they had to rush. They rushed through getting the Cro-Mags introduced and them getting captured. I mean, that all happened pretty damn quickly. It's not like it was any downtime.
Then we got the whole France bit and all. It felt like they added a lot.
It was only a few minutes. It was like 5 minutes at the most from when they landed on France to getting caught.
5 minutes too much. Like that first 10 or so minutes, we got some, just awful, outdated trope views on people in mental institutions. Racism to the French. Rampant misogyny. It just felt a bit weird.
But I mean, if you're not tuning in for those things, mate, why are you watching Sliders? I mean, that's why we're here, isn't it?
I saw Invasion. I came for an invasion. I wanted an invasion.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. We didn't really get an invasion, did we?
We saw
we didn't really
what
get
happened
an
after an invasion. I guess we saw...
And it's the threat. It's the threat of a subsequent invasion.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they could have invaded the French land, or did they not bother with...
I think so.
Did they just go there, knock out Quinn, take his gadgets and go? It felt like
that's all that was, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I felt like I wanted it to start a little bit sooner to actually get more of the invasion-y stuff.
Maybe what the invasion is the invasion of this foreign concept into our safe, happy Sliders verse. That's what the invasion is. The idea of serialized storytelling. Oh my god. Can we handle it? Probably not.
Can Sliders handle it?
Probably not. Let's see. Yeah, so that's another episode of Circling the Vortex. Episode, what did I say it was? 22?
That's one of our longest episodes as well.
One of our longest episodes. We gave you a feature-length episode. We gave you more time on this episode than they gave in the episode for the concept of the show. So I think in that regard, it's done a good job. We'll be back soon with the final episode of Season 2, Episode 13, as time goes by.
Looking forward to it.
Then we will be doing some kind of special after that before we probably plough into Season 3.
We're still in talks over the end of season special.
We are still in discussion as to what the hell that's going to be. Yeah, we are still working out. We have to work that out soon. But we'll get. I think we've got some ideas. But yeah, that's been a really good episode. I really enjoyed talking about that because I thought we were going to get a lot to talk about out of that episode, and I was right because it's a big thing, big concepts. But
nice amount to get our teeth into.
Please follow us at Experience Kills on Twitter. Feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube video. What did you think of Invasion? What did you think of this episode? I imagine there's not a Sliders fan out there that doesn't have thoughts on this episode because it is so big as part of the show. It's about the concept. So what did you think? Please let those comments be known on YouTube, on the Reddit, on wherever else you might find us. Obviously, we're available on YouTube to watch this podcast, or you can listen to us on Spotify or iTunes. So until next time, that has been Circling the Vortex. I've been Ben. This guy here has been Nathan. And we'll see you through the slide tunnel. Make sure you adjust your slide rods for a comfortable journey.
Gotta get those slide rods right.
Gotta pump them good. Bye.